Before Zeus ruled the sky and Hades claimed the underworld, there was only darkness and churning primordial waters. And within that ancient chaos, a power was being forged that would eventually command every ocean, every sea, every river, and every single drop of water that would ever exist across the face of the earth. The ancient Greeks didn't build temples to Poseidon out of love or admiration. They worshipped him out of pure, primal, bone-deep fear, because they understood that this god held the terrifying power to raise tidal waves, crack open the earth itself, and erase entire civilizations with nothing more than a single devastating strike of his legendary three-pronged trident. In the beginning of all things there was only chaos, and from that formless void emerged the Titans. And from those Titans came three extraordinary brothers who would eventually draw lots and divide all of existence between themselves in a cosmic gamble that would shape the entire course of human history forever. Poseidon entered existence as the second son born to the Titaness Rhea and her husband Kronos. And though he was destined for unimaginable greatness and power beyond mortal comprehension, his father Kronos saw only a prophesied threat to his throne and immediately swallowed the infant god whole, imprisoning him in eternal, suffocating darkness. But being swallowed didn't mean death for an immortal. Poseidon remained alive and conscious within his father's stomach, fully aware of his imprisonment, feeling every moment of that endless captivity. And with each passing year, his divine power grew stronger, while his rage built into something that would eventually shake the very foundations of the world itself. For countless years that stretched into what felt like eternity, the young god endured this nightmare existence alongside his equally trapped siblings, each of them growing, each of them waiting, each of them nurturing a fury that Kronos could never have anticipated when he chose to imprison rather than destroy them completely. When Zeus finally orchestrated the liberation of his brothers and sisters, Poseidon erupted from Kronos like a tsunami breaking free from impossible constraints, and the war that immediately followed, the legendary Titanomachy, lasted 10 brutal years of combat so violent and destructive that it nearly tore the entire earth apart at its seams. During this apocalyptic conflict, Poseidon proved himself a warrior of terrifying skill and relentless aggression, commanding the seas to swallow Titan strongholds, raising earthquakes that toppled their fortresses, and fighting with a ferocity that made even his divine brothers pause and recognize the monster they had unleashed upon their enemies. The weapon Poseidon wielded became the stuff of eternal legend, a magnificent trident forged by the grateful Cyclopes in the deepest volcanic pits of Tartarus, a divine instrument capable of splitting mountains in half, creating earthquakes that could level cities, and summoning storms powerful enough to swallow the entire horizon in darkness and destruction. After the Titans finally fell and their threat was ended forever, the three victorious brothers stood atop the smoking ruins of the old world order and agreed to draw lots to fairly divide all of reality itself. Zeus claimed dominion over the sky and heavens. Hades reluctantly accepted the underworld and realm of the dead, and Poseidon became eternal lord of all waters everywhere. Poseidon's kingdom extended far beyond just the obvious oceans and seas. His domain encompassed everything water touched or influenced: the rivers that carved through continents, the lakes that sustained communities, the underground springs that fed civilization, and even the moisture suspended in the very air, making him arguably the most constantly present god in everyday human existence. Deep beneath the waves, where sunlight surrenders to eternal darkness, Poseidon constructed his legendary palace in a realm where no mortal could ever venture, a kingdom of impossible beauty and terrifying power, where the normal laws of physics bent completely to divine will. And there he ruled with absolute, unquestioned authority over creatures that mortals would only know as monsters from their worst nightmares. Poseidon's romantic pursuits were every bit as violent and unpredictable as the seas he controlled. When he developed an obsessive desire for the goddess Demeter, and she desperately refused his advances by transforming herself into a mare, Poseidon responded by creating the first horse specifically to pursue and impress her, fundamentally and permanently changing the course of human civilization with an act born of stubborn lust. His infamous affair with the beautiful Medusa within the sacred walls of Athena's temple wasn't merely a tale of forbidden passion. It was a calculated power play between rival Olympian gods that resulted in one of mythology's most heartbreaking transformations and revealed the cruel, petty political games that defined relationships among the supposedly noble divine beings of Mount Olympus. The curse that transformed Medusa from stunning priestess to terrifying monster with serpents for hair was Athena's punishment for a violation that occurred in her sacred space. Yet Poseidon faced no consequences whatsoever, demonstrating the horrifying inequality that existed even among immortals, and the casual cruelty with which gods treated those caught between their conflicts. When mortals dared to anger Poseidon through disrespect, broken promises, or simply catching his attention at the wrong moment, he never limited his punishment to guilty individuals alone. He drowned entire coastlines, destroyed fishing fleets, and sent tsunamis against cities, his wrath so legendary and unpredictable that sailors would sacrifice their finest and most valuable animals before every single voyage, desperately praying that his terrible attention would fall elsewhere. Yet, despite his capacity for destruction, Poseidon was also a creator god who bestowed genuine gifts upon humanity. He gave mortals the horse and taught them how to tame these magnificent creatures. He revealed secrets to shipbuilders about constructing vessels capable of surviving his treacherous domain, and in doing so, made the expansion of civilization across the waters actually possible. The ancient city of Athens itself owes its very existence to a divine contest that Poseidon bitterly lost. When both he and Athena claimed the city, he dramatically struck the Acropolis with his trident and created a spectacular saltwater spring. But the judges deemed Athena's humble gift of the olive tree more valuable to human survival, a defeat and humiliation that the sea god never forgave or forgot. Poseidon fathered countless children across the centuries with goddesses, nymphs, and mortal women alike, But disturbingly, many of his offspring were monsters rather than heroes. The savage Cyclops Polyphemus, who would later clash with Odysseus, the invincible giant Antaeus, who drew strength from the earth, and numerous other creatures so terrible that their names were only whispered in fearful warning. His central role in Homer's Odyssey reveals the petty and vindictive side of Poseidon's character. He tormented Odysseus relentlessly for 10 long years, preventing him from reaching home, killing his companions, and subjecting him to endless suffering, all simply because Odysseus had blinded his monstrous son, Polyphemus, in an act of desperate self-defense. Every time Odysseus seemed close to salvation, Poseidon would send another storm, another shipwreck, another disaster, demonstrating with terrifying clarity that even the cleverest mortal hero was nothing but a toy in the hands of an angry god who measured grudges not in human years, but in the endless patience of immortality. The ancient city of Atlantis itself, first described in detail by the philosopher Plato, was, according to ancient accounts, Poseidon's greatest and most beloved creation, an advanced utopian society he personally built for his mortal lover, Cleito, and their 10 sons, blessed with divine protection and technological wonders that far exceeded anything else in the ancient world. For generations, Atlantis flourished under Poseidon's watchful blessing, growing wealthy beyond imagination, developing technologies that seemed miraculous, and expanding its influence across the known world. But eventually, the descendants of Poseidon's mortal bloodline grew arrogant, greedy, and corrupt, forgetting the humility that the gods demanded from mortals. When Atlantis fell, Poseidon didn't simply sink an island beneath the waves. He completely and utterly erased an entire advanced civilization from the pages of history in a single catastrophic night, making a message to all humanity that even his most favored children could never escape divine judgment if they grew too proud.
The Romans later adopted Poseidon into their own pantheon as Neptune, though they softened some of his more terrifying aspects and emphasized his role as protector of ships and maritime commerce, demonstrating how the same deity could be understood differently across cultures while maintaining his core identity as master of the waters. Throughout the ancient Mediterranean world, temples dedicated to Poseidon and Neptune dotted every major coastline, each one serving as both a place of worship and a desperate insurance policy, because coastal communities understood better than anyone that their survival depended entirely upon remaining in the sea god's unpredictable favor. Even today, when we have mapped the ocean floors with satellites and submarines, the deepest trenches remain mysterious realms where bizarre creatures exist in conditions that seem to belong to an alien world, places where one can almost imagine an ancient god still holding court in eternal darkness far below. Modern deep-sea explorers continue to discover anomalies that challenge easy explanation, underwater structures that seem too regular to be natural, artifacts in locations where no ancient civilization should have reached, and formations that make even skeptical scientists pause and wonder what secrets the ocean still guards jealously in its lightless depths. Perhaps the old stories were never just stories meant to entertain or frighten children at bedtime. Perhaps they were warnings passed down through countless generations, encoded memories of powers and beings that existed before recorded history, forces that, patient and eternal, still wait in the crushing darkness beneath the waves for humanity to remember their names.
If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe.